Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, thousands of Indians across religious communities were forced to come out on the streets of Canada. This was after the attack on Hindus and their symbols of Astha. With tirangas in their hands, they called to stop the Hindu phobia in Canada on display. Remember, this Diwali weekend was marred by the venomous shadow of Khalistani terror in Canada. Videos showed how radicals attacked temples and even targeted women and children. While Khalistani backers brandished swords and sticks against the Indian worshippers, the Canadian police charged and detained the Hindus instead. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has strongly condemned the deliberate attack and said that cowardly attempts to intimidate are appalling, but the opposition's big guns are silent on the attack on Hindus. Be it Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, or their alliance partners Akhilesh Yadav or Tejasvi Yadav. Their silence is deafening today. But is it by design? Why has Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath warned once again that history has shown जब जब बटे हैं तो निर्ममता से कटे हैं? We will get you the larger picture in just a bit. But first, watch how some Congress leaders, instead of standing by the Patriots' attack in Canada, are criticizing them. The BJP, on the other hand, has questioned the conspicuous silence of the opposition. Listen.
बटेंगे तो कटेंगे. That also is irritating others. But they are enjoying the land of Canada, facilities and other amenities. And they are joining the slogan of Mr. Yogi.
अफसोस की बात है कि विपक्ष के लोग जो छोटी छोटी बातों में बात का बतंगड़ बनाने में माहिर हैं, इस मामले में या तो लिपापोती करते हुए दिखाई पड़ रहे हैं और या फिर जो है वो चुप दिखाई पड़ रहे हैं.
While the Gandhis have been mum on the atrocities on Hindus in Canada, watch what's happening in Congress-ruled Karnataka. Here in Belgavi, posters glorifying Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb were put up to celebrate his birth anniversary. The poster reads, and I quote, "Celebrating Sultan-e-Hind, the real founder of Akhand Bharat." Aurangzeb? Really? And this has triggered tension as the locals objected to these posters, forcing the authorities to get them removed. The question is also, not only did Aurangzeb impose, have you forgotten this history, that Aurangzeb imposed the jizya tax on Hindus, he also destroyed the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir as well as the Krishna Janmabhoomi. Today, his backers are emboldened under the Congress Raj, say the critics of the Congress. Ahead of the critical polls taking place in Maharashtra, Jharkhand and by-polls in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh, Chief Minister of UP, Yogi Adityanath has cited India's history and warned, "Jab jab bate, to nirmamta se kate." Of course, the India Alliance has stated that this isn't a unity pitch but a divisive chant. Viewers, watch and decide for yourself.
भाजपा को लाइए, एक रहिए और नेक रहिए. इस देश का इतिहास गवाह है, जब भी जाति के नाम पर, क्षेत्र के नाम पर, भाषा के नाम पर बंटे हैं तो निर्ममता से कटे भी हैं.
डिवाइड का हिंदी क्या है? बांटो. डिवाइड एंड रूल नारा दिया था अंग्रेजों ने, और अंग्रेज तो चले गए लेकिन अपने वचन छोड़ गए. ये वचनवंशी लोग हैं अंग्रेजों के, इसीलिए इन्होंने इस तरह के नारा दिया था. ये भारत और खासकर उत्तर प्रदेश का समाज ऐसे नारों को कभी स्वीकार नहीं कर सकता है.
बटेंगे तो कटेंगे, किसको बोला? बांटने वाले ही तुम हो और काटने वाले भी तुम हो, और दूसरों को बोल रहे बटेंगे तो कटेंगे. ये बीजेपी का एजेंडा है, आरएसएस का एजेंडा है. इस एजेंडे को तुमको तोड़ना है.
Ladies and gentlemen, now watch the opposition's hypocrisy. While Rahul Gandhi didn't even bother to put out one single tweet on the attack on Hindus in Canada, but he shed tears when Israel struck Gaza to fight the Hamas. Sonia Gandhi to criticized India for not backing Gaza in a UN resolution, but she won't shed a tear for Hindus who have been targeted. Akhilesh Yadav condemned the Waqf bill as anti-Muslim, but absolutely pin-dropped silent on atrocities on Hindus. Its alliance partner in the India bloc, DMK, has branded in the past Sanatan a disease like HIV, AIDS, leprosy, but is silent when Hindus are attacked. All this not communal? So, ladies and gentlemen, the legitimate question that we are asking on the Newshour tonight is the Vipaksha's Hindu hypocrisy out in the open? That's the question, and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Shehzad Poonawalla, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Abhijit Iyer, Mitra, senior fellow at the IPCS, Vivek Silas, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Also joining the debate tonight, Danish Qureshi, spokesperson for the AIMIM. But my first question goes to Tehseen Poonawalla, political analyst and Congress supporter like nobody else. And Tehseen Poonawalla, my question to you is point blank, simply this. Kaun sa nara pasand hai? Which one will you like to choose from? You have a problem with Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. You have a problem with Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. You have a problem with Batenge, Katenge, which is a unity call. First made by Yogi, this statement was in August when there were atrocities on Hindus in Bangladesh. How come this issue is such a huge no-no for the Congress party, whereas statements like Sanatan ko mitana hai, Sanatan is like dengue, malaria, HIV, AIDS, leprosy, that's not considered, communal at all. What's the definition?
Thank you for having me on the show, Navika ji. Batenge to katenge, as told by the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath ji, about attacks on Hindus across the globe. Be it England, be it Bangladesh. I'm taking England in because that happened retrospectively. Bangladesh recently and now in Canada. All of these three shows one common symptom. The person who's failed us in this nation is the real minister of the country, the external affairs minister. What will he do against Canada? He'll make another read. And I can go on to the effects of how Canada, this was pre-planned. 30th October, there was a letter put out by our Hindu fellow citizens and people of Indian origin who are Hindus, saying that, listen, there's going to be an attack on us. And the real minister may have made another deal, but did nothing. So, batege to katege, as Kharge ji said, baatne wale bhi BJP aur kaatne wale bhi yehi log hai. I'll explain to you why. Every person who's ever died, be it on the Hindu side or the Muslim side, has been the poorest of poor. But the rich people, whether OAC's kids or BJP leaders' kids, are either sitting in the BCCI or are going to foreign universities. Language pe, bhasha pe baatenge. Kaun si bhasha? Bhasha, inke bacche अंग्रेजी सीखते हैं, दूसरों को बच्चों को बोलेंगे भाषा पे कटेंगे. That's what I'm saying. Now there was an Aurangzeb poster that came out in Karnataka at the time of Maharashtra elections. Who put it up? Who benefits from it? From the BJP. It is the BJP that is doing it, and the BJP benefits from Hindu-Muslim polarization, as does OAC who benefits. We have to see through this. There are so many issues happening in the country across the world, but the biggest issue is the failure of the Honorable Prime Minister and the real minister in what's happened in Canada after a pattern was established against our Hindus in England and in Bangladesh. And yet again, they failed the Hindus and they failed Indians, and they continue to put their failure on the opposition.
Shehzad Poonawalla, Tehseen has a huge list of litanies against you. Please respond.
First of all, Tehseen should be informed that the Aurangzeb poster came up in Karnataka, in Belagavi, which is under Congress rule. So if at all he has now accepted that Congress is completely incompetent, they oppose the statue of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, but they are unable to pull down the posters of Aurangzeb. Until the BJP highlights it. So that is aside. But having said that, Navika ji, whether it's the eulogy to Aurangzeb or whether it is Rahul and Priyanka's strategic calculated silence on the treatment of Hindus in Canada and Bangladesh, ये कुछ भी संयोग नहीं, ये सोचा समझा प्रयोग है. Firstly, Navika, they truly believe that hate speech against blacks is racism, hate speech against Muslims is Islamophobia, hate speech against Jews is anti-Semitism, but hate speech against Hindus is free speech. They believe in that. I think they ideologically are committed to that fact. That is why, please tell me, when is the last time they have tweeted on the position or the condition of Hindus in Bangladesh or in Canada? They had dozens of tweets on the Muslims in Gaza, which they have nothing directly to do with. Secondly, these people are the ones who justify and legitimize the attack on Hindus. Bhai, when you say Sanatan Samapt, Sanatan is Bimari, Hindu is Dengue, Hindu is ISIS, what do you think will happen? You are giving a handle to the radicals that yes, Hindus are to be exterminated, and never once has this been condemned by those who run the Mohabbat ki dukaan. Thirdly, in Modi Virod, we will stand with everything that is there, including Desh Virod. There was once a time that Vajpayee ji used to go and argue the case of India in United Nations. That was the LOP. Today you have an LOP who goes and takes pictures with Ilhan Omar. Today you have an LOP who demands internal intervention by USA and UK into India's affairs. You have an LOP who goes and badmouths Indian institutions abroad. And when the Canadian government or the Bangladeshi government is held to account, you have TMC leaders and other Congress leaders who question Indian government, not the radicals back there. Fourthly and finally, and I'll end my points here, these people put vote bank ki niti above Rashtra niti. Please tell me that when Pulwama happens, they start protecting Pakistan and they give clean sheet to Pakistan, blame India. When Samjhauta happens, they give clean sheet to Pakistan, blame India. When Doklam happens, instead of standing with the armed forces, they are going and standing with the Chinese ambassador. 26/11, they blame the Hindus, they don't blame Pakistan. So they put vote bank niti or their party ka niti, dal niti above desh niti. And lastly, I'll just quote one thing. In Mahabharat, there is a prasang which is called Panchadik Shatam. Basically, it says, Paraspar Virodhe tu vayam panchata shatam. Parestu vargigrahe prapte vayam panchadik shatam. Which means that when we are fighting against each other, we are 100 versus 5. Pandav versus Kaurav, we are 100 versus 5. But when we are fighting external foes, then we are not 100 versus 5, we are 105. But for Tehseen Poonawalla, today, not a word of condemnation against Canadians. Congress, not a word of condemnation against the Bangladeshis. But what will they say? मोदी खराब है, रील मंत्री खराब है. अरे भाई, जब सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक का प्रूफ भी डीजीएमओ ने दिया, तब भी आप सबूत मांग रहे थे. आपको कौन कन्विंस करे? और बटेंगे तो कटेंगे कॉम्युनल है, पर सर तन से जुदा बड़ा सेकुलर है. मठाधीश बांटेंगे और काटेंगे, ये बड़ा सेकुलर है. वोट जिहाद जो समाजवादी पार्टी कहती है, वो बड़ा सेकुलर है. तो ये विवेक जी और तहसीन की फितरत है.
Well, let me get in Vivek Silas. Vivek Silas, straightforward question coming into you is, मठाधीश काटेंगे और बांटेंगे वो सही है, बट योगी आदित्यनाथ गलत है. ये मठाधीश माफिया हैं, ये कम्युनल नहीं है, बट what Yogi Adityanath is saying is communal. Aurangzeb Sultan-e-Hind hai, the real founder of Akhand Bharat. I mean, this interpretation of history, I've never imagined or even heard of, but that is coming up in India Alliance ruled states. But Yogi Adityanath is communal. What are your standards of judging people, ideology, and statements?
No, look, as far as the Aurangzeb is concerned, it's absolutely absurd what posters were put in Karnataka. We don't abide by that. It's absolutely absurd. But if you see at the Bharatiya Janata Party, they started with the slogan, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Then now finally they have come down to Batoge Katoge. So it's all, as the politics goes in India. And if you see the Uttar Pradesh by-elections, you could see the Bahraich riots, where the Bharatiya Janata Party itself was involved, when the Bharatiya Janata Party MLA had to say and put an FIR against the Bharatiya Janata Party people and their district president Vikas Srivastava that he was involved in the riots. So it's everyone knows, you know. And now today we see that the polls are delayed by 1 week because maybe the Bharatiya Janata Party wants to spread more hatred. When it was 2024 and the Honorable Prime Minister was talking about Mangal Sutra, Bhais and Makan leke jayenge, we thought okay, he cannot stoop more than that. But what happened in Jharkhand very recently, yesterday he stooped down saying ki aapki bahu aur beti ko bhi utha ke le jayenge. To win an election is fine. Everyone fights to win the election, but winning the election, stooping down to this level is unacceptable. And if we see what happened in Canada, it should be condemned that Hindus are attacked in Canada. But the question here is, who's supposed to protect them? No one is asking that question. Who is going to protect the Hindus in Canada, UK, USA, Bangladesh, Australia, where such incidences are happening? It's the central government, it's the external affairs ministry, it is the foreign ministry, or the Prime Minister, the government of India and the people of India are going to protect them. Why are they being attacked? If they are being attacked, they need protection and the government has to protect them. That is the thing which no one is talking about.
Government has. आपने कभी सुना है? If all of us join together, raise our voice, you know, people will begin to sit back and take notice. But Anand Ranganathan, obviously, members of the India Alliance have not heard any of this ever before. Because for them, Sultan-e-Hind, founder of Akhand Bharat, is Aurangzeb, whereas, batenge to katenge is a communal statement. Dengue, malaria, that is what Sanatan is. Oh, well, that's not communal, that's absolutely constitutional, secular, and seculars can hold this view. Is this hypocrisy now beyond a point becoming sickening?
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, let me just settle this once and for all about this brouhaha on batenge to katenge. I have a couple of questions through your auspices, if I may ask my elder brother Vivek Silas ji and younger brother Tehseen ji. To Vivek ji, I want to ask a very simple question. Vivek ji, do you condemn the fact that Tipu Sultan said, and I quote, annihilation of the infidel is our sacred duty, and he went on to convert 4 lakh Hindus, forcibly demolished temples and churches, even dead Hindus were converted. Do you condemn Tipu Sultan for that?
Of course, why not?
Thank you.
I condemn
Do you
him.
also condemn, thank you. Do you condemn Akhilesh Yadav for keeping his nickname as Tipu?
You should know the story. You know, the nickname was kept by his teacher. The teacher who was teaching him in the military academy.
If I have a teacher who keeps your nickname as Adolf Hitler, would you accept it and keep it?
I have many friends whose name are Tipu and the nicknames are Tipu. That doesn't make a difference. You should not, you should not play politics into that. No, I have many other friends.
You have answered the question.
प्यार से लोग इन्हें हिटलर कहते हैं. तुम्हारा नाम
मेरा नाम हिटलर रख दीजिए, क्या करूं?
Navika, now I want to ask Tehseen, who posed a very important question, outraging at batenge to katenge and saying that who benefits most from polarization? It is BJP that polarizes most. To him, I'd like to ask, are we as a society not polarized enough, Tehseen, when we have no one has the right to be worshipped but Allah 4062 beamed through a loudspeaker 5 times a day all through the year? Or those who deny the Quran, their necks will be shackled 40-70? Or polytheists are the worst of creatures 98-6? Or do not forget that disbelievers are allies of one another. Do not take disbelievers as friends unless they convert and kill them if they refuse 489. Have any of these verses been condemned by people who accuse BJP of being polarized? What else are these but not polarizing? Please answer.
I will, of course, Anand. I don't know where these verses come from, but I'm assuming that since you've spoken of these verses and you've done your research, may I humbly ask you, if these verses exist, the person who's in government for the last 11 years, has he done anything to save our country from its polarization? Don't interrupt me. Sir Tanse Juda, which is a terror slogan, has he even taken action against it? If the Honorable Prime Minister and Home Minister can't act in India, you think the real minister will say, save our Hindus in Canada? Had it not been for Mr. Mehra, who you and I know, Kushal Mehra, Hindus still would have been slaughtered in Canada. It was Kushal Mehra who raised the issue night before last. That's when this External Affairs Ministry got up and smelled the coffee. Had it not been for people like us tweeting, the real minister would have been busy making another reel and being cut in India. You know it and I know it, how badly they failed.
I don't know. I don't know. If you think that the foreign affairs minister is the real minister, in the past when there have been issues, do you think foreign ministers, prime ministers are supposed to be at places where violence of this kind happens in a foreign country? Abhijit Iyer Mitra, what is the argument that is being put out here? Where was Tehseen Poonawala when I'm asking him questions on statements made by the DMK leaders on Sanatan? Where was he then? Where is he? Has he or his party condemned the posters that came up in Karnataka where Aurangzeb has been called Sultan-e-Hind, the founder of Akhand Bharat? I want to ask you, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, the man who destroyed Krishna Janmabhoomi, the man who destroyed Kashi Vishwanath temple, he is being called in a Congress-ruled state through posters, Sultan-e-Hind. Nothing objectionable that is being found by Tehseen Poonawala about any of the ministers of that state. They are not real ministers. They're not supposed to be asked questions. Only questions must be asked of the BJP government and the BJP ministers. Is that fair?
So, what's happened here, Navika, is, the latest border of secularism apparently is how much you can whitewash the worst kind of Islamist. I'm actually grateful that it's just Aurangzeb who's been described as Sultan-e-Hind and not Osama bin Laden because he was hiding in Pakistan or Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Very soon we'll also get to the stage where they will be shown as secular. Let's look at Canada, for example, or America. You remember the eulogy that Justin Trudeau tweeted out for Fidel Castro. You have seen the eulogies that Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and New York Times put up for Osama bin Laden. One was religious scholar killed. The second was mild-mannered religious cleric killed. Right? And Professor Irfan Habib actually has this whole thing that he'll only pass people who basically call Aurangzeb a highly secular person. This is the problem with our own system, where you have to show every bloodthirsty foreign invader or every person from one particular religion as highly peaceful, and even a peaceful person from another religion as being a bloodthirsty psychopath. All right. It isn't unique to us. This also happens in America, where the founding fathers are now being called slave traders and racists and whatnot. They were. But even later people are being called racist. Even people who fought against racism are now apparently called racists out there. This is not new. This is a classic left-wing tactic which is meant to polarize. But the problem here is all of this just validates Yogi's slogan of batenge to katenge. Because it is precisely this kind of thing that unifies Hindus. So I urge them to do more of this. The more of this you do, the more Hindu unification you will see, the more Hindu polarization you will see. Look at Canadian Hindus. They were such cowards, they would call Justin Trudeau over to temples and things like that. Now you've seen the statement that the Canadian Hindu Council has put out. They are not going to call any politician who refuses to mention the word Khalistani extremists to even come into a temple anymore. तो और करो, बहुत अच्छी बात है. I want these people to do more of this. It's not good for the country, but if this is what you want to do, great, let's do it.
Well, let me get in Danish Qureshi. Danish Qureshi साहब, आप तो ओरिजिनल पार्टी है जिनके लोग मजार पर जाते हैं औरंगजेब के. मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ, बटेंगे तो कटेंगे से इतनी दिक्कत, लेकिन काशी विश्वनाथ मंदिर तोड़ने वालों से इतनी मोहब्बत क्यों?
देखिए, मैं आपको एक बात कहूँ, दरअसल प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि कटने और बांटने की राजनीति संघ परिवार की और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की है इस देश में। क्योंकि मैं आपको बताऊं, जहां बंटना नहीं है तो वहां तो हम लड़ रहे हैं। एक्चुअल में तो नहीं बंटना चाहिए था हमको कनाडा के मामले में, लेकिन कनाडा के मामले में तो हम देख ही रहे हैं पूरे पैनल में किस तरह से पूरा मामला निकल के आ रहा है। दूसरा, हम एक होने चाहिए थे। अभी हमने रिसेंटली दीपावली के आसपास ही नेपाल ने एक नया नोट निकाला है। ये है वो नोट, 100 का नोट उसका, जिसमें उसने दिखाया है कि लिपू लेक, लिपियोधारा और काला पानी, ये सब भारतीय जगहें हैं जिसको उसने अपने नक्शे में दिखाया है। तो ये तो हालात हैं हमारे देश की केंद्र सरकार के, मोदी सरकार के। और उसके बाद एक राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री योगी जी दूसरे राज्य में जाकर कहते हैं कि कटेंगे और बटेंगे। तो क्या तर्क निकाल के ला रहे हैं वो? अरे जहां लड़ना है वहां तो लड़ पा नहीं रहे हैं आप, ना तो डिप्लोमेटिकली लड़ पा रहे हैं, ना प्रेशर टैक्टिक्स यूज कर पा रहे हैं। बांग्लादेश के लिए रो रहे हैं, लेकिन इसके लिए, मणिपुर के लिए हमारे मुंह से आवाज तक नहीं निकली, ना केंद्र सरकार बोली, ना और कोई मंत्री बोला। लेकिन वहां की घटना घटी, वो निंदनीय थी, जिसके लिए तुरंत ट्वीट करा मोदी जी ने, अच्छी बात है। लेकिन मणिपुर के लिए भी तो निकलते। क्या मणिपुर की महिलाएं इस देश की बहनें नहीं थी, इस देश की बच्चियां नहीं थी, इस देश की बेटियां नहीं थी? दिक्कत यह है कि अगर आपके राज में क्या हुआ, मणिपुर में काटा ही गया ना, नागरिकों को काटा गया। किसने काटा? इन्हीं की सरकार ने। राज्य सरकार भी उनकी, केंद्र सरकार की भी उनकी। कभी आपने पूछा कि ये जो कट गए, ये जो बट गए, इनको किन्होंने, किसने काटा, किसने बांटा? लेकिन इसका जवाब नहीं मिलेगा भारतीय जनता पार्टी से।
शहजाद पूनावाला, प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड।
देखिए नाविका जी, सबसे पहले तहसीन और विवेक सायलस ने यह बोला कि देखिए हमारे ट्वीट करने से क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है, गवर्नमेंट को रील बनाना नहीं चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट को प्रोटेक्ट करना है। तो अगर ये तर्क है तो फिर मुझे बताइए कि गाजा के मुसलमानों के लिए गम के आंसू क्यों टपका रहे थे भाई? उस पर भी तो सरकार ने स्टैंड लिया था ना, पैलेस्टाइन और इजराइल के विषय पे, कि वी कंडेम द टेररिस्ट अटैक और पैलेस्टाइन के जस्ट कॉज को सपोर्ट करते हैं। नसरल्ला के लिए नस क्यों काट रहे थे, हिजबुल्लाह पे हाय तौबा क्यों मचा रहे थे? वहां पर तो बिल्कुल स्टैंड लेना, एक नहीं अनेकों ट्वीट दागने हैं, परंतु कनाडा के हिंदू पर मौन बच जाना है। दूसरी बात, तहसीन पूनावाला बोल रहे थे कि औरंगजेब का पोस्टर देखिए ये कैसे लग गया। अरे औरंगजेब रोड का नाम जब एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम के नाम पर किया, तब कांग्रेस वाले और समाजवादी पार्टी वाले दोनों मिलकर वहां पर तौबा तौबा करने लगे कि ये कैसे आपने आलमगीर का नाम बदल दिया और एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम ये पसमानदा के नाम पर रख दिया। अरे अशरफ के नाम पे था, कैसे पसमानदा के नाम पे रख दिया? तीसरी बात, मैं तहसीन से पूछना चाहता हूं, चलिए उन्होंने बोला मोदी जी करे, मोदी जी सब करे, उनकी अपेक्षा भी मोदी जी के साथ ही अच्छी बात है। पर आपको पता है पिछले साल 29 अटैक्स टुक प्लेस ऑन द हिंदू यात्रास, majority of them were in the Congress and the TMC ruled states. I want to ask him, even today when Rahul Gandhi has gone to Hanuman Mandir, there has been an attack on Hanuman Mandir in Shamshabad. Has Rahul Gandhi tweeted on the state government which is under his control directly, where series of attacks have taken place on Hindu Yatra or on the Hindu Mandir? Not a single word. That is your government, sir. How come you are silent on that also? And fourthly, Abhijit Iyer Mitra should update his debating skills, because Abhijit is saying Osama bin Laden को नहीं बोला। मैं शुक्र मनाता हूं 10 साल पहले आरजेडी ने ओसामा के लुक अलाइक को लेकर कैंपेनिंग कर दी थी। अभिजीत जी, आप बहुत पुराने डिबेट के मोड में हो। ओसामा बिन लादेन हैज आल्सो बीन यूलोजाइज्ड बाय आरजेडी एंड बिलीव यू मी, दे हैव टेकन लुक अलाइक ऑफ ओसामा एंड कैंपेन्ड इन द मुस्लिम बाहुल इलाकाज। आई डोंट नो व्हाई इन मुस्लिम बाहुल इलाकाज ओसामा विल बी अ सेलिंग करेंसी। एंड फाइनली फॉर माय फ्रेंड दानिश कुरैशी, दानिश भाई, मैंने लास्ट टाइम भी आपसे पूछा था मणिपुर पे आपको बड़ी चर्चा अच्छी लगती है, आप मुझे बिना देखे बिना गूगल किए 8 राज्यों के नाम बता सकते हैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट के और कैपिटल के? पहले आप 8 राज्यों के और कैपिटल के नाम बता दो बिना गूगल।
सुनिए मेरी बात, सुनिए, अरे सुन लीजिए,
जरा कैमरा उन पे फोकस रखना, वो गूगल करेंगे।
सुनिए मैं आपको बताऊं, देश की सबसे बड़ी जिम्मेदारी नरेंद्र मोदी जी की है। और अगर आपको राज्य के नाम और कैपिटल्स के नाम पूछने हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि जाके आप उनसे पूछिए, क्योंकि जवाब तो आपको देना है, उसके बजाय आप सवालों में उलझाने का
पिछली बार भी पूछा था 2 महीने पहले,
सुनिए
अभी तक नहीं पढ़े।
अरे मैं ये कह रहा हूं, अरे ये 3 सुनो, सुनो सुनो सुनो, ये 3 जगहों के नाम मैंने आपको, काला पानी और लीपू लेक, और इसका नाम दिया। क्या आपने ये पढ़ लिया कि ये भारत का हिस्सा है तो नेपाल की उसमें कैसे चल रहा है, वो पढ़ा आपने? वो नहीं पढ़ेंगे आप, वो नहीं पूछेंगे आप।
अरे मैं कल बोलूंगा आपका घर मेरा है, मेरा हो जाएगा क्या?
सारे लोगों से
आपको मैं कल बोलूंगा आपका घर मेरा, तो मेरा हो जाएगा? मैं वक्फ हूं क्या?
हो जाएगा।
मैं वक्फ हूं क्या?
अरे तो भाजपा कुछ भी हो जाएगा।
राज्यों के नाम आज तक नहीं पढ़ के आए, मणिपुर पर चर्चा करनी है भाई। कितना वायरल कंटेंट देंगे आप मुझे?
मैं ये आपसे ये पूछ रहा हूं,
कितना वायरल कंटेंट देंगे बताइए?
मैं आपसे ये पूछ रहा हूं कि आपने
आप पहले 8 राज्यों के नाम पढ़ के आइए।
फेल्योर आपका है तो क्या आप जिम्मेदारी लेते हैं उसके? अरे आप पहले कनाडा पे जवाब दीजिए, आप पहले जवाब दीजिए। ये लीपू लेक और ये जो जगह काला पानी, ये नेपाल में क्यों नहीं दिया? इसका जवाब देना पड़ेगा।
जिस आदमी को 8 राज्यों के नाम नहीं पता नॉर्थ ईस्ट के, वो मणिपुर पर ज्ञान दे रहे हैं।
अरे हम आपसे
मणिपुर पर ज्ञान बोल रहे
हैं। आनंद रंगनाथन, तहसीन कमिंग टू यू, बट आनंद रंगनाथन।
नाविका, आपने बहुत पहले कहा था हेड्स आई विन टेल्स यू लूज, दिस इज द आर्गुमेंट ऑपोजिशन यूजेस। अभी 2 ये पैनलिस्ट कह रहे हैं, तहसीन इंक्लूडेड, कि भाई कनाडा में ये चल रहा है, हमारी सरकार क्या कर रही है हिंदुओं के लिए? जब हमारी सरकार ने हिंदुओं के लिए करने को कहा था, सीएए लाई थी कि प्रताड़ित हिंदू वापस आए, तब सबसे ज्यादा कौन चिल्लाया था? यही लोग चिल्लाए थे। तो हिंदू के लिए जब करो तो चिल्लाना, ना कर पाओ तो चिल्लाना। और मैं देनेश अपने बड़े भाई हैं, उनसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, बहुत बोल रहे हैं आज ये।
मैं बंद करिए कनाडा।
अरे
सुनिए
देनेश साहब, आपको इंटरप्ट नहीं किया मैंने।
सुनिए कनाडा,
आप मेरे बड़े भाई,
सीए और
आप मेरे बड़े भाई हैं।
के मामले में कनाडा से कोई आने वाला नहीं है, कनाडा से कोई आने वाला नहीं है। अरे कनाडा से कोई,
दानिश भाई बहुत डराया मुसलमानों को, सीए आ जाएगा, आपकी नागरिकता छिन जाएगी और सिटीजनशिप विद गो। सीए लागू हो गया है। हेलो,
अरे तो आप भी लाइए मोर्चे में, हमको कोई
नागरिकता नहीं छीनी। तो डराया क्यों था? आनंद रंगनाथन आपसे सवाल पूछना चाहते हैं, सवाल तो कीजिए, हो सकता है मतलब का हो।
दानिश भाई, आपको हमारी रिलेशनशिप का वास्ता, मेरे बड़े भाई हैं, इंटरप्ट मत करिए। आपसे एक सिंपल सा सवाल पूछने जा रहा हूँ, प्लीज इजाजत दीजिए। दानिश भाई, आपकी बहुत इज्जत करता हूँ। हाँ,
पूछिए। यस, एवरीबडी कैन हियर यू, ऑल ऑफ इंडिया।
दानिश भाई, हसन नसरल्ला टेररिस्ट थे?
सुनिए मेरी बात, मैं बिल्कुल नहीं कह रहा हूं मोदी जी को आप बोलिए हसन नसरल्ला टेररिस्ट है। लिखिए आप, सुनिए। नहीं, मैं जवाब ही दे रहा हूं, अरे उस पर जवाब ही सुन लीजिए। मैं ये पूछ रहा हूं कि ईरान के साथ, सुनिए, ईरान से जो, सुनिए, अरे जवाब नहीं दे पाएंगे आप, जवाब नहीं दे पाएंगे, सुन लीजिए, सुन तो लीजिए, जवाब नहीं दे पाएंगे। अरे सुनिए, मैं आपको जवाब, अरे सुनिए, मैं आपको जवाब, अरे दानिश साहब सुन तो लीजिए, सुनिए।
अरे मैं सुन लूंगा, आप जवाब दीजिए,
जवाब सुन लीजिए। अरे जवाब सुन लीजिए।
अरे नाविका,
मुझे ये बताइए,
मैं याया पे भी आऊंगा,
हम ईरान के साथ में रिश्ते अरे हम ईरान से रिश्ते बनाएंगे, ठीक है, और हसन नसरल्ला से नफरत करेंगे तो मोदी जी से कहिए ना, वो तो कहते हैं उसका वेलकम उसका कर दे, लेकिन बहुत अच्छा हुआ।
तो
वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ,
बड़ा दर्द हो रहा है। आनंद रंगनाथन,
आप उनसे,
दानिश भाई से आपने ठीक सवाल नहीं पूछा, बट तहसीन पूनावाला, आई वांट टू आस्क यू सेवरल क्वेश्चंस रेज्ड बाय शहजाद पूनावाला, प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड टू देम वन बाय वन.
First of all, I know the 8 northeastern states and the 7 sister states and the 1 brother state, but let's come to the larger issue. Anand said, "Oh, why were you all opposing CA? Why were you opposing CA? Why were you opposing CA?" This government, Anand, this real minister and this failure of a government that makes reels, set the cut-off date in CA 31st December 2014 because किसी का एडिशन वाला लाइट बल्ब जल गया and thought, hey, this great date is a good date. Therefore, my dear brother Anand, Afghanistan, Bangladesh or Canada, no Hindus can come back because this government's IQ is as much as a toddler, as a new toddler Justin Trudeau. Now, let's come to the second issue. On 30th October, 10 Hindu citizens wrote a letter saying we are going to be attacked. Other real minister may have made another reel and got cross bravado. He did as much as the number 0 numerical to help our fellow citizens. This when attacks happened in England and Bangladesh prior to this. Last year England, this year Bangladesh. Therefore I'm saying, अगर हिंदुओं को बचाना है, भाजपा को भगाना है. अगर भारत को बढ़ाना है, भाजपा को भगाना है.
आपने तो 1984 से सबको बचाने का ठेका लिया हुआ है ना. You have forgotten your own history. You have forgotten your own history, Mr. Tehseen Poonawala. अभी जितना याद दिला दे जरा.
Navika, 5 seconds. Because he
Okay, all hands going up. Shehzad Poonawala first, and then I'm coming to you one by one. Shehzad.
नाविका, मैंने तहसीन से बड़ा स्पेसिफिकली पूछा कि वाई द डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स दैट इफ यू कैन स्पीक ऑन गाजा ऑफ मुस्लिम ऑफ गाजा देन वाई यू कैन नॉट से एनीथिंग अबाउट हिंदू इन बांग्लादेश. ही हैज डाइवर्टेड द टॉपिक अगेन टू हिज फेवरेट टॉपिक ऑफ रील्स. आई एम सेइंग राहुल गांधी आज रील बना रहे थे क्या? शमशाबाद में जो जिहादी हमला हिंदू मंदिर पर हुआ, शमशाबाद का तो नाम पता है ना, तेलंगाना में है, वहां पर आपकी सरकार है, वो तो विदेश नीति में आती नहीं है. शमशाबाद के जिहादी हमले पर तहसीन पूनावाला मुंह पर ताला क्यों लग जाता है? और नाविका जी, ये बड़ा अनफेयर है. आप तहसीन का डेजिग्नेशन डालो कि ही इज अ कांग्रेस सपोर्टर, बट ही इज अ वेरी वेरी डिसअपॉइंटेड कांग्रेस सपोर्टर. रोज रात को आकर वो अपनी आत्मा का पहले गला घोटते 850 को, फिर 9 बजे डिबेट में बैठते हैं. 850 ही इज कमिटिंग द सुसाइड और कमिटिंग द क्राइम अगेंस्ट हिज आत्मा एंड देन कमिंग फॉर 9 PM डिबेट. तो इनके लिए डालो वेरी वेरी सैड कांग्रेस सपोर्टर, बिकॉज ही विल टेक ऑल द स्टैंड्स दैट कांग्रेस डज नॉट टेक, पर आत्मा को मारकर 9 बजे आना पड़ता है.
तहसीन पूनावाला, everybody has time to talk about Gaza, but nobody has time to talk about Bangladesh or Canada. क्यों?
Because on Gaza, the opposition is following the policy of the government of India. No if, no but. On Bangladesh, in England and in Canada, government of India.
Oh my God! Canada also, why don't you follow the policy of the government of India? The Prime Minister has tweeted, but Anand Ranganathan, वो नहीं दिखेगा, Bangladesh नहीं दिखेगा, Gaza दिखेगा. Why these blinkered glasses?
नहीं, वो ब्लिंकर ग्लासेस में बाद में आऊंगा तहसीन के, लेकिन तहसीन ने कहा कि अगर हिंदुओं को बचाना है तो कांग्रेस को वोट दो. ये इन्होंने कहा. अभी मैं कोट करना चाहता हूँ तहसीन. हाँ, सुनिए मैं तहसीन, आई वांट टू कोट समवन हु इज योर आइडल. दिस इज व्हाट ही सेड, कोट 1959. ऐसे हिंदुओं को बचा रहे थे वो. कोट, इफ देयर इज अ ब्रीच ऑफ कम्युनल पीस, आई वुड स्टार्ट विद द प्रिजम्पशन दैट इट हैज बीन कॉज्ड बाय द हिंदू कम्युनल एलिमेंट. अनकोट जवाहरलाल नेहरू. मतलब कोई भी रायट होती है, सबसे पहले वो कहेंगे गिल्टी हिंदू है. ऐसे हिंदुओं को बचाएंगे आप?
So I don't know in what context was that. I don't know in what context was that said. So things can be quoted out of context.
No, he did not say to Edwina. He did not say to Edwina.
The only way to save Hindus is to get Rahul Gandhi as Prime Minister. He's the only one who can take global and save Hindus.
My question tonight is simply this: how much is of hypocrisy is too much? Why? सबका साथ सबका विकास is also not acceptable. बटेंगे कटेंगे also not acceptable. But all attacks on Sanatan extremely constitutional and secular. The question is the hypocrisy. Why Aurangzeb is the Sultan-e-Hind? Why Aurangzeb is the maker and founder of Akhand Bharat? And everybody in the opposition absolutely forgets the fact that he is the destroyer of Kashi Vishwanath and Krishna Janmabhoomi. Why so many tears for Gaza and none for Hindus in Canada or Bangladesh? These questions are questions that are coming out from the people of India. The opposition would do well to address them, because people, citizens of India, are watching, and they will decide who's offering what and whose hypocrisy reeks the most. We leave it at that. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, the big American elections